The Semiotics of Performance, looking at A$AP Rocky. For this presentation, I'll provide an introduction. I'll then talk about semiotics in terms of linguistics, in terms of image and sound. I'll then discuss the background of hip-hop music, moving on to introduce my artist in question for the presentation, and then I will complete the analysis and move on to the conclusion. Music is not so much about creativity, but the result of shared conventions and shared definitions as people come to inhabit cultural spaces. As individuals become used to these codes and conventions within music, they begin to attach expectations to particular genres, enabling them to become familiar with certain traits of that genre that they will enjoy. In simple terms, we attach meanings to sounds that are ultimately just noises, and when we hear these noises, due to the conventions of that genre, we're able to recognise the musical category, as well as understand other expectations that are associated with that style of music. So, based on these codes, musicians use sounds and techniques that they know the fans of that genre will be familiar with and enjoy. There is also visual language when it comes to music, in terms of what an artist wears, how they style themselves, and choose to present themselves to their audience. Usually the visual language will also follow the expectations of that genre. This presentation will explore the various meanings that are attached to hip-hop music in particular, and how these codes and conventions are used in the images and videos of American rapper A$AP Rocky. This artist was chosen due to his high popularity, as well as his ability to integrate other artistic platforms into his music, such as fashion, for example. This presentation will be utilising semiotic analysis to understand the communicated meaning of the images. Therefore, it is necessary to firstly introduce the method in order to lay the foundation for the rest of the analysis. There are two key theorists who are thought to have introduced the discussion of semiotic analysis: Ferdinand de Saussure and American philosopher Charles Peirce. Both theorists are concerned with the system of signs and how they portray meaning to the world. Saussure wrote, "The linguistic sign unites not a thing and a name, but a concept and a sound image. I call the combination of a concept and a sound image a sign, but in current usage the term generally designates only a sound image." Halliday argues that language is built up of shared lexical and grammatical options that when combined create meaning. There are endless choices available to individuals to help convey meaning. According to Saussure, the linguistic sign is a two-sided entity which involves a concept and a sound image. The two elements are united and essentially tied together. In order to further clarify this theory, Saussure argued that the sign represents the whole, and the sound image is replaced by signified and the signifier. The signifier is seen as the object or concept, for example a national flag, whilst the signified is seen as the understood meaning shown by the signifier, such as dedication and pride for a nation. The sign represents the relationship that occurs between the signifier and the signified. The way someone interprets a sign will depend on a variety of things such as their class, gender, age, ethnic origin, and so forth. This emphasises how the understanding of a sign can vary from person to person. The denotation and connotation of an image can also help to clarify the meaning further. According to Chandler, the denotation is the literal meaning of an image, whilst the connotation is the cultural and social interpretation of the image based on the individual's own experiences. Throughout the analysis, I will be using this method in order to understand the messages that are being communicated by the artist. Kress and Van Leeuwen discovered how pictures, images, and visual designs can also denote and connote meaning, rather than simply using linguistics. They argued that discourse can be connoted by linguistic and visual choices. Taking influence from these theorists, this presentation will analyse the visual elements. Kress and Van Leeuwen argued that the same process of linguistic semiotics can be applied in imagery, for example, how a colour can connote an emotion. These signs don't have fixed meanings, but instead they have meaning potential. Different colours have different meanings. They alter as the colour cue changes. In order to tell the audience about themselves, artists need to market their music through album iconography. Often the album covers are a good indication of the genre. Thus, the artist intertwines imagery with sound. What is interesting is how these covers help to communicate certain discourses, values, and identities. Differences to look out for in an artist's album cover include the colours used, the fonts, photographic effects, and the positioning of the artist. In iconography, some images document what is happening, whilst others help to present abstract ideas, connoting concepts. Iconography helps to create ideas of power and hero worship. This can be seen later in the presentation when A$AP Rocky is seen to use thrones to connote royalty. There are various different ways how pictures, images, and visual designs can denote and connote meaning. For example, poses, gaze, social distance, objects, settings, and salience. According to Mackin, images provide an available repertoire of meaning potentials. Due to the fact that hip-hop music is the main genre behind the artist who is being analysed for this presentation, I thought it was necessary to provide a brief background of the genre. Rapping is a vocal technique used in hip-hop music, so often this term is used when discussing this particular genre. While violence has become rap's defining characteristic in the 90s, hip-hop actually started out as a means of ending black-on-black fighting 2 decades earlier. Artists like Tupac represented the dark side of hip-hop that ignored the law and promoted violence and aggression. Rap became part of a trail of scare stories that took over the press as a result. During this time, gang culture became the core of hip-hop music, which often defamed women and celebrated drug-fueled activity. Today, although this hostile theme still exists for many artists within the genre, it could be argued that hip-hop has strong cultural ties with the discussion of repression, racism, discrimination, poverty, and the overall struggle of what it means to be black in America and the rest of the world, representing a form of social commentary. Artists like A$AP Rocky have turned hip-hop into an artistic form which integrates with other artistic institutions, such as fashion. According to Trap, hip-hop exploded out of an era of desperate poverty and savage racial inequality. No doubt, hip-hop has both shaped and been shaped by culture, perhaps in a cyclic fashion. I will now move on to the analysis part of the presentation. Firstly, this presentation will look at an image taken from an album cover of A$AP Rocky's Long Live A$AP. I will analyse the image based on the criteria provided by Mackin. Looking at the image, considering his pose, his aura is very moody, but he appears to be engaged with the viewer. His body language is very relaxed, as he is slumped across the throne. From this body language, it can be inferred that he does not feel the need to make an effort for the viewer. As a result, he appears very confident. His positioning is central, which ensures that he is the focus point for attention. Moving on to gaze. His gaze acknowledges the viewer, but it does not welcome it overtly. However, he still maintains eye contact with the audience. His gaze appears to be very uninterested, which could represent a careless attitude, which is very popular within hip-hop music. This idea of not caring attempts to present the artist in a cool, non-interested way. In terms of social distance, he is quite far away from the viewer, which could represent a hierarchical positioning, as he does not feel the need to be too close to the viewer. According to Mackin, we maintain distances from people that we do not know very well, and this is reflected in this image of the artist. The medium shot is neither angled up or down, which doesn't necessarily give the artist or the viewer power, due to the fact that neither are looking up or down at each other. If the artist was looking down at the viewer, this could suggest superiority. However, A$AP Rocky has decided to keep the viewer eye line equal to his, which keeps his confidence subtle. In terms of objects, the objects in the frame are very simplistic yet incredibly effective. The artist is sat on a padded throne that has a skull at either side. This connotes ideas of power and royalty, which could explain how the rapper sees himself compared to other people in his field. This is also a good demonstration of iconography, as the artist is encouraging fans to treat him as an icon who should be essentially placed on a pedestal. The artist is also draped in an American flag, displaying his loyalty and association that he has with his nation, providing a sense of American pride. This could help to build a connection between A$AP Rocky and his fans, as he is encouraging hip-hop to be inclusive of American culture. The settings on the album cover are very theatrical, with lightning bolts shooting down onto small mountains in the distance, whilst dark water runs beneath the artist's feet. The entire shot is in black and white, which connotes a sullen element. According to Mackin, shady colours can represent a dark mood of secrecy and seriousness, as well as signifying the unknown. The settings represent a strong degree of articulation in the background. The album cover represents a reduction of modality, as the background is represented in an elaborate way. It isn't simplified. In terms of salience, the album and the artist's title is foregrounded in white, contrasting the background, which uses tones of black, directing most of the viewer's attention towards this element, as it contains the most crucial aspects of information. The artist's title includes dollar signs, which connotes his attachment to making money, as well as again tying himself to the American culture, something which is very popular among rappers. The weight of the font is quite heavy and has a bold effect on the viewer. The words have little fuss involved, emphasising A$AP Rocky's personality of getting straight to the point. Now, using still images, I will analyse the music video in question for Long Live A$AP. There is a heavy emphasis on purity and impurity, as well as light and dark throughout the entirety of the video. The artist has also created a fantasy world to present his artistic views. This tells us that the vision could represent a subconscious or something that does not take part in reality. In this first still from the music video, the artist is denoted as rapping at a downwards angle towards the camera as white clouds float above his head. By having clouds behind the artist, this could represent heavenly aspects, again displaying elements of iconography as the rapper is placing himself in an angelic position, encouraging people to believe that he is similar to a sacred being. Clearly here, the artist is demonstrating his refusal to be repressed and treated like a second citizen by society. This particular angle is also known to connote superiority, as the individual gazes down to the viewer, representing dominance and authority. Throughout this scene, the artist's fashion labels are also shown to be on display, which are well known to form a huge part of the persona of hip-hop. According to A$AP Rocky, everybody in the hood wants to compensate for being in poverty, so they want to look good, and this trend has clearly been prevalent through hip-hop and continues to evolve as rappers become more established. In the second still taken from the music video, the rapper is sat on a throne with light beaming down onto him. Due to the fact that white connotes purity, this could be inferred as having reoccurring ties to heaven and the afterlife. Again, through the denotation of a throne, the connotation implies royalty and power in the hands of A$AP Rocky. Two televisions positioned either side of A$AP Rocky portray white noise and help to further project the artist's speech as the video goes on. The iconography here implies that whatever the artist is saying is important enough to be broadcasted over a television. In this scene, A$AP Rocky wears a bulletproof jacket. This explicitly connotes safety and protection, as the purpose of the piece of clothing is to ensure that the individual does not get shot. Thus, from this, it could be inferred that the artist has a desire to remain safe, especially if he is involved in any gang culture, which is well known for aggression and violence. Furthermore, this could also represent his desire of security and protection within society as well as the music industry. By portraying himself in this superior way, the rapper is more likely to attract the attention of fans, women, and other rappers. Like the light, his confidence shines right out of him. In this final still, the viewer can see a white woman dressed in white meeting a black woman who is dressed in black. Both women have symmetrical body language like a mirror, which could represent the subconscious of A$AP Rocky. The theme of light versus dark is very explicit here, and this could have close ties with how the artist sees himself. Potentially, the artist is trying to demonstrate his challenge of succumbing to the dark side of the music industry while still trying to remain a positive role model. This still could also represent an inward battle that the artist may be struggling with, presenting ideas of dualism. The use of women could also be tied with ideas of relationships. Themes of monogamy could present an idea that the artist struggles to remain faithful around multiple beautiful women. Levi Strauss's theory of binary opposites can be used to analyse this video due to the contraries that are used regularly throughout the themes of this music video. The theorist suggests that in order to understand one word such as dark, we make comparisons to the opposite values of the word, for example light, in order to reveal the meaning of the original word. A$AP Rocky uses binary opposites to display his inward battles of dualism throughout his music video. In conclusion, we can use semiotics to analyse the high levels of authority and power that the artist is presenting. A$AP Rocky is not shy with displaying his confidence. Furthermore, he does not hide his arrogance, revealing personal aspects of his character. He continually demonstrates dedication to America through the use of the American flag and the dollar sign. The overall settings of the music video and album cover are moody and sullen, which could represent the artist's relationship with the public, as he rarely gives a lot away. Another conclusion that can be made is the obvious factor that the rapper does not want to be repressed, perhaps providing connotations to racism and classism in America. Finally, the iconography presents the rapper as an angelic figure that should be worshipped. However, the rapper also provides a dark, almost demonic side through the usage of guns and other violent elements throughout the video. The use of opposing elements, such as black and white, could represent the rapper's struggle of battling his demons and insecurities, showing further ideas of dualism. Key themes that are evident include the American flag to show nationalism, thrones to display royalty, guns and bulletproof jackets to represent life and death as well as protection, and the use of black and white women dressed in black and white, showing binary opposites of life and death, black and white racial struggles, evil and pure, light and dark. Thus, it becomes clear that the artist never projects specific images without meaning. There is always a premeditated purpose behind an image, and this becomes clear in the work of A$AP Rocky. Through the use of various images like the ones discussed in this presentation, the audience are welcomed into the subconscious of an artist, enabling them to understand how and why they make the decisions that they do.